I'm Josh with Skid Pro. Today we're going to take a look at our heavy-duty 6-way dozer blade. Well, I always like to start with construction and weight. I think that can tell you a lot about an attachment. Is it well built? The weight on this 96-inch dozer blade is nearly 1,700 pounds. Very, very heavy, very strong. You know, in today's day and age, these big track loaders, here's an 870, 100 horsepower, lots of tractive force. They're going to put all kinds of leverage on this blade, not just on the moldboard, but as it tilts and you've got your pins and your cylinders, everything is going to have a tremendous amount of push and leverage on it. Construction is key. You know, there's cheaper blades out on the market, but you put a cheaper blade on a big track loader like this, and you're likely to damage that thing first or second time you use it, and then you've got nothing to show for it. This blade is heavy. It's a cold rolled steel. I like the cold rolled steel because it's stronger per pound than a cast iron. It also allows you to have a nice deep dish on the moldboard. The deep dish moldboard serves a couple key purposes. First, when you have that curl, that dirt is going to be churning in front of that blade better. And when you do that, almost like a snowplow, you're going to be able to handle a higher volume of dirt. Second, a lot of this force, when you're pushing from a track loader or a skid loader, a lot of the resistance comes from the dirt or the soil that comes in contact with the blade. So when you can keep that rolling and keep that moving, you're going to have a better, more efficient use of your horsepower, effectively making your machine almost feel bigger or stronger than its actual horsepower is. One of the things with the dozer blade is the height. You want it tall enough that it can move a good amount of dirt, but you don't want it so tall that you have poor visibility. So we settled on a nice 26-inch height from the cutting edge to the top of the moldboard. The blade has a tilt on it, up and down, of 10 degrees. We've got a full 30 degrees on the side-to-side angle. Our cutting edge is a high carbon steel. It's 5/8 inches thick and 6 inches wide. It is a reversible edge, so you use it, you can unbolt the carriage bolts, flip it around, use the other side, and of course it is replaceable as well. So not only do we have a very heavy moldboard on this blade, but we fully box the back. And that's really where the strength comes from, and a lot of other dozer blades don't do this. If you look in here, we've got about 3.5 inches deep by almost 20 inches in height, and it's 1/4 inch steel, welded, fully boxed behind the moldboard. And that's really what gives this dozer blade its exceptional strength. Probably the most critical area of strength on a dozer blade is the tilt and angle pivot frame. And what I mean here is this entire frame, this is the moving parts, and it spins on the tilt cylinder, and then we've got, that's a 2-inch pin, and down here we have a 4-inch tilt pin that it pivots on. So you can see here we run 1/2 inch thick frame. It's 5.5 inches deep. We run another 1/2 inch plate on this side, so it's almost completely boxed in. This bracket that holds the frame on this side and on the other side are both 1/2 inch. And you can see we've got large bolts that hold it in, a lot of strength there. Why do we build that so strong? Well, obviously the amount of force that gets pushed on that dozer blade, but also because of the size of the cylinders we use. There's a tremendous amount of force in these cylinders, 3,500 psi cylinders. So they can put on a lot of torque and a lot of pressure. This pivot frame has to be heavy to be able to withstand both the power on the dozer and the friction, but also the pushing on the cylinder. So we have a 4.5 inch ram and a 2-inch rod on all 3 cylinders, both angle cylinder and the heavy cylinder over the top. So we also make sure we really beef up our attach plate. You can see all the gussets here along the top. You can see the double gussets down here. We reinforce where the cylinders attach both on the pivot frame and also on the attach plate. Here you can see on top we cover the valve block that has a steel cover over the top for protection. The solenoid is actually located below, all fully protected for use in the most aggressive and extreme situations. Another thing is all the pivot locations are greasable. So they're greasable up here on the cylinders, but we also have multiple grease zerks on that vertical angle pin, that 2-inch angle pin, and on this tilt 4-inch diameter tilt pin as well. There's a greasable pivot point under there. Another really unique feature on our Dozer blade that a lot of the competition overlooks is the skid shoes. We run 2 oversized skid shoes. This comes in at 11 inches wide and 4 inches deep, and it has a curve in the front. And it's easily adjustable. There's 4 bolts on each skid shoe. You loosen those up and you can adjust your height vertically, and you can even adjust it so one side is higher and the other side is lower. So regardless of what skid loader you have, we've got an easy solution to get you wired up and ready to go.